Hey everybody, how you doing? Back up north or back up northwest, as you can see back there, the background, the mountains. I am today I came just a little past Thurmont to check out a place that I really should have checked out before, because I was up here just this spring doing a little hiking on the AT, on the Appalachian Trail, and which was some fun on its own. But so right by the place where I was hiking, in an area called Cascade, Maryland, or on Google Maps it says Highfield Cascade. Up here in Highfield Cascade is actually a place called Fort Ritchie, and Fort Ritchie is quite interesting. It's a place of interest to me because when it comes to history and when it comes to World War II in particular, there are a couple areas of particular interest to me, and that would be well, I've already mentioned one, which would be sub-project MK Ultra, and okay, see, these things kind of dovetail. They're not the same. They're not the same programs exactly, but MK Ultra kind of dovetails with what went on in places like this, or what kind of began in places like this, which was known as Operation Paperclip. So I've been mentioning a whole bunch of things. So these are some old barracks, by the way, right behind me. Not much to see here, but there's a great museum which we're going to go into right now. But so the point is, MK Ultra had a lot to do with a lot of more of the nefarious things, things that would certainly borderline on illegal. Things, of course, such as torture, things such as mind control, things such as the biological warfare. I mean, primarily those and some other things are kind of what consisted that operation and that interest in that aspect. Now, again, the folks running these programs were largely the same, and the methods were largely the same, but they are two different programs. Okay, so you have MK Ultra, which was pretty much well, which was really the turf of the agency of the CIA, pretty much right after its inception in the early 50s. And then Operation Paperclip, okay, that was, well, I think that straddled behind between multiple agencies, but that had more to do with, all right, there were a lot of things going on. Okay, there was you know, refugee evac, there was intelligence on you know, weapons and things regarding defense that we wanted more information on, or wanted, right? You know, the rockets, the tanks, so on and so forth. You know, more conventional things like that. I think there was one other thing I wanted to say about Paperclip, but both were very extremely top secret. You know, so you know, basically up here in Camp Ritchie, Maryland, you know, like in all other situations, say with the Manhattan Project or whatever, you know, you had a lot of people working on this stuff. A lot of Marylanders, well, up in this neck of the woods, would have been working up here at the time. People wouldn't have known it, or if they did, they, you know, would have been pretty good about keeping their mouths shut. Same thing goes for Fort Detrick over there in Frederick. But it, I'm not sure the exact number of people that it employed, but it was a pretty big operation for a while. The Ritchie boys, now this is a fun story. I can't remember all their names. Guy Stern is one of the most prominent ones, and he gave a recent interview on CBS, so he's one of the most famous Ritchie boys. There's some others, you know, that, here's an important point. As in many of these operations, a lot of these people became very prominent, that there are reasons as to how or why they became prominent after doing, I guess, a tour of duty, such as this, as you would say. But there is one key graduate, I don't know if I should call him graduate or alumni, or there's one person who trained here at Fort Ritchie who is extremely notable. When you go down the list of people, most people don't know much about this subject. Camp Ritchie was just, the information was, I don't know if I want to say declassified, or really brought to the public's attention and made popular maybe just, you know, 10 odd years ago or so. So it's not something that a whole lot of people know about. But if asked, a lot of people when it comes down to people who were involved in Camp Ritchie or in the operation in general. Let's say, Operation Paperclip, whatever. I mentioned Guy Stern, and there's some other names who might be somewhat familiar to people, but there's one name who often gets left out of this list when they bring up famous people who worked on this project. And that's the real kicker here. One of those people was David Rockefeller. Yeah. So, there's more than meets the eye in this kind of stuff, but I'm not here today to get into the ins and outs, to spell everything out, or to just ruffle feathers and say a bunch of conspiratorial things. Just give you that background, the basics. I think I pretty much stuck to the basics there. It's just fun stuff. It's fascinating stuff. It's all true. There's a lot to learn here. My points with, I'll say this too. These two programs, okay, again, that there are so many reasons for big wars that are always lost, and that is absolutely deliberate, okay? That these things are never white and black issues as they are presented by the press. But at the core of some of these affairs, wars, conflicts, whatever, endeavors, operations, at the core of WW2, this was at the core. This was one of those things that, kind of like the dark heart in the middle. MK Ultra and Operation Paperclip, they really illuminate a lot of the missing pieces for people who may not fully understand the conflict, or who think it was just as simple as Hitler, Mussolini, and Japan, which, not to take anything away from those, aspects of it, okay? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, when it comes to this and so many other things with the Civil War, what I am saying is that there is a lot more to it that you don't know. Anyhow, take a quick, no, it's right there. Take a quick walk through the museum. I'm gonna try to make this fast and keep this just over 10 minutes here. Fort Ritchie, Maryland. Cascade, Maryland. Beautiful day. Thank God the rain held off. Still got some color on the trees. She's gonna look at me funny because I was just in here. Just gonna zero in on a couple key things here. A couple things I find interesting. First of all, right down the street is where I was hiking this spring. The area is called Penmar. I just realized, and this is the great reason why I come to these places, is because just like Chesapeake Beach, which I'm really obsessed with, it used to be an amusement park a long time ago. Really neat. Really neat. Alright, so a couple of notables. Richard Shifter is one. He worked in government, in defense later on for the Department of State. Victor Blombert is one of the more famous Ritchie boys. Let's see. It doesn't actually tell you much about what he did later in his life, but he did go to Princeton University, so that's one aspect of what I was mentioning, how a lot of these people, for whatever reasons, often end up in very high places. There's Guy Stern. Now here's a point. Look. Notice how in all these pictures, there's one name missing. Whose name could be missing here? Jeez, I wonder. Languages, interrogations. Oh, so here's the work. CBS actually did a lot of work on this. So this is kind of what some stuff that some of you might want to look up. Right there. There's actually a full list of the graduates that's finally been published. And this guy, Daniel Gross, did a lot of work on it recently, very recently. So like I said, things have been coming out about this place for maybe like the past 10 years or so, but even more so really in just the last couple years, a lot of things have been made public. So this is why I always tell people history is not static. Listen to me loud and clear. This is why I tell people history is never a closed door. Science is never a closed door. Run away from anybody who ever tells you that. These are really neat. Matchbook cover. Now look, I can't zoom. I'll read them to you. Keep mum chum. This one says, leaky pens cost lives. I don't know if any of you are familiar with WW2 propaganda, but it's just hilarious. This one says, she can't repeat what you don't tell her. I'm trying to think of some of the slogans from some of the other World War II stuff. If it comes to me, I'll let you know. But let's see. So this is interesting. These are the dog tags, and for, as the sign says, for very obvious reasons, a lot of people, a lot of Jews serving in World War II for the States, especially in intelligence, did not want to be identified. So oftentimes they had an H instead of Hebrew next to their name. These are all pretty basic info. What was in here? This is neat. So here's a signal book for World War II. Of course, if you look at those flags, they are the same signals that have historically been used, that were certainly used during the Civil War. And then there is a Korean War exhibit back here, which is neat, but I'm not really doing the Korean War today, so I'm just going to blow by it. That's for another time, I guess. And then here are some German items, sabers, there's Lugers, Rugers, and some books and t-shirts. And that's about it, guys.
The county has to approve a lot of the licenses.
Right. Hope everybody enjoyed the little tour and the little spiel about Camp Ritchie, Operation Paperclip, and the museum. It's a really great place. So if you live in Maryland, southern Pennsylvania, and you're interested in World War II, this